Welcome to Renewable Watch Podcast, your front row seat to what's really shaping India's renewable energy industry. I am Sarthik Takyar, and my co-host is Khushbu Goyal. We break down the trends in the industry, why it matters, and where things might be headed. The stakes are high, the timeline is tight, and the questions are getting sharper. In this episode, we will unpack the emerging trends in the CNI renewable sector in India. We will discuss the evolving energy demands of these customers and strategies adopted by developers to cater to these changing market dynamics. Joining us to answer these questions is our guest, Pinaki Bhattacharya, founder, managing director, and CEO at AMPIN Energy Transition. Mr. Bhattacharya, you've had extensive experience in the CNI renewable sector. We'd love to hear about some of the key trends that you've navigated along the way, especially in how customer expectations and demands have changed. Perhaps you could share a few specific case studies and projects that you've implemented in the past few years to explain these trends.
Okay, thanks a lot, Renewable Watch, for this opportunity. So, first is that, CNI is overall, the customers, they buy 50% of the power in the country. So it's almost like 10 gigawatt plus market a year now. Okay. Now, why it has grown? Because first of all, when we started initially, the only certain states in southern India were open, like Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Then, during the lifetime of our company, we actually started opening new states also. We worked very closely on the ground because we have a regionalized structure. So, head office is in Delhi, but regional offices are in Bombay, Calcutta, and Bangalore. So, each is working at the ground level for all the states. And these are complete offices. It's not like a sales front. So, gradually, then the northern India opened in terms of the open access business. So, we started with UP. Now Haryana has opened, Rajasthan has opened, Uttarakhand has opened. Then we moved our focus to West. We were the first persons to do the first generation open access projects in Maharashtra. Then Gujarat has opened for a hybrid. Now MP has recently opened. So all the states in the Maharashtra side opened. In South was already open when we started business, but now even Telangana and Andhra has opened. And now then we started with East. East, now the cost of electricity came down. It became viable in the East also, like it was like 20-30% savings. Now, in that case, essentially, then we started opening a lot of markets in the East, like Odisha, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, now even Assam, Bihar, and Bengal, they're opening up. So our what has happened is now what used to be two states, now almost 15 to 20 states have adopted basically the green energy open access route. So that's a very good initiative by the central government to define certain green energy open access rules, which actually are needed essentially to provide the 100% RE solution. Otherwise, there is no broad guideline for the states. And now every state, one after the other, they're opening up because they think that for the industries to go green, and you need to provide renewables, and also it is cheaper than the current procurement cost of power. And the states are themselves competing for industrial customers. So if they do not open it up, then basically somebody else will open it up. So the state governments have become much more balanced in terms of view, or not only working for the DISCOM, but also for the private generators. And for a company like us, our advantage is that we are also, by the way, supplying to the DISCOMs. Because with our utility business, we are also giving the power to the DISCOMs. Now, if we are giving so DISCOMs are dependent on the private players for their power also. So as a result, now the balance has been reached. So many states are open. Viability has improved because of the cost of coming down. So 20 to 30% savings to even 40% savings, we are able to provide all across the country now. So economics bahut acha hai, and then on top of that, let's say the policy is also in sync. So overall the viability CNI business has really grown, and now we are seeing also another trend, the procurement volumes. So procurement volumes have also gone. We won like a 30 megawatt, I think, so in 2017. It used to be the largest contract with Hewlett Packard Enterprises. So now we signed 200 megawatt contracts also. So the size of the procurement volumes have gone. So with each, like some of the companies we have seen even like 200, 300 megawatts. So that is another trend. Then the other trend in terms of different industries adopting renewables. So now we also diversified our base of sort of customers across different industries. So from that standpoint, essentially, we have the auto industry, then the pharma industry has been an adopter, then FMCG, cement and steel has been a huge adopter, and now data centers. Data centers also has grown drastically and telecom. So data centers are huge sort of consumers of electricity, green power now. So basically, we have seen different sectors also adopting it. So just to summarize, different sectors are adopting it much more than before. Procurement volumes have increased. Number of states where it is possible has increased. Then, in terms of the viability has improved, and also now there is a rule book to take any company to 100% renewables, which was not there. The VPPA thing was not clear. Now it is clear. Then, in terms of interstate open access rules were not there. Now it is there. So I would say this is like uh, extremely lucrative and very central to the country's growth now.
Mr. Bhattacharya, you mentioned a couple of ideas in the last question. So you also spoke about how these different market instruments like VPPAs, etc., have come up to bring more CNI consumers to this kind of a green power procurement space. But if you had to talk about few more instruments that are required in the country to further, you know, um, enable more corporate consumers procuring larger amounts of renewables, then what would your suggestions be?
See, regulatory drivers, everything is adopted in the green energy open access rules. So obviously we need banking. Okay, and there should be policies, the should be long term, banking should be provided. And there's a time bound provision of connectivity agreements and all those. So those things are changing. So, but we are patient. We just never give up. I mean, gradually it differs from state to state, and that's happening. Now, one aspect is very important is that also what we are seeing is the technology mix. So if you see today, the cost of storage has also come down, right? As a result, we see the technology mix also moving in CNI from solar to first hybrid and now to solar plus storage also in many cases. And storage is kind of providing that application. Even in the utility sector for the CNI side, ISTS projects, we have solar, wind plus storage. And another aspect is on the trading side because you need a trading also to happen if you have to give dispatchable green energy. So on the trading side, the advantage is that now there's a derivative market that has started also. So if the derivative market has started, so essentially that is also sort of improved. So I would say the technology mix is changing, and there are certain instruments like that are there in place. One is the now the reduction in the cost of the energy storage, and also in terms of the trading, which is a very vibrant trading market that has opened up. And also another aspect is the financing, which I did not touch upon. So the project financing is also really expanded on the CNI case in the last 10 years that we have seen. Earlier, not a lot of people, there are few sort of NBFCs and banks which are doing. Now everybody wants to do it. For every project that we basically try to do, we get almost 3 to 4 leading lenders trying to work with us. So there is a lot of CNI sort of interest in the project financing market. Then, in terms of even the aspect of merchant power today, is also pretty attractive. Even projects which are connected to the ISTS power plants, and if they're not having a long-term PPA, they're also getting sort of project financing is happening because it's a very good thing to have, because today we have a very vibrant energy trading market, bilateral market, and also the derivative. So the financing has also become very lucrative, I would say, for the CNI business.
Right. And when you look back or compare to, the CNI market of 2016 or 17, how has the consumer mindset changed? Do you feel consumers now are your consumers, or your customers, they're more aware about the different offerings, the different products that, developers like you can offer, the different business models, the viability of different kinds of technology mixes? Do you think customers are more aware now? They're more demanding now?
Uh, See, I would say definitely they are much more aware now, and also I would say they were demanding before. Also, they're demanding now also. But here essentially, the supply is less than the demand power. So it's a balanced kind of a market, because you need to understand, if we have to, and first of all, we are not a developer, we are a power generator. Developers are words that are used in the energy industry, where so in the real estate industry, suppose somebody develops a flat and you buy the flat, he develops it, he doesn't own and run it, right? So our model is that we develop, own, and operate the assets. Because that's another issue that is the industry has faced. There are far too many people who just develop assets, then they sort of give the keys to somebody else, and the customer is now speaking to somebody else. Somebody signs the PPA, somebody builds the project, and somebody else runs the project. So that is also a shift that customers are demanding, because they like to face one team. Because see, in CNI, what is important is that whatever knowledge the customer has, it's improving. But it is also important in CNI not just to build the power plant, but also operate it. There are a lot of regulatory aspects, there are a lot of bill settlements, a lot of things that are to be done after the project is up and running. Our attitude has always been to work alongside the customer to ensure that they have a full life cycle support. So, because it could be even regulatory support and all, So I would say the knowledge level, to back answer your question, knowledge level has improved, but so has the sort of the sector also expanded. Because now suddenly there are so many states that are doing it. So if you have a knowledge level, let's say in Karnataka, you may not have the level of doing a project in Rajasthan, right? So the customers are also, so that's where we come in. How our objective is that at a customer, we are like almost initially like a consultant. So we tell the customer that if we basically we understand their energy footprint, then we design a solution across the states and across the different models, and say that you do A, B, C, and D, right? Because we are on top of it, and based on that, essentially, then we rule out the solution. So I would say knowledge has improved, but at the same time, the complexity of the size of the sector also expanded.
Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya. You've highlighted the strategies and drivers for the sector in your previous answer. But even with all these enablers, the sector still faces a lot of regulatory and structural issues. So, according to you, what are the key challenges and restrictions in the CNI renewables sector today, whether it's the ALMM, limits on net metering, or the open access charges? And you've been vocal on several of these issues, so I think the listeners will also be interested to know your viewpoint.
So I would say on the CNI side, because there are four elements of CNI. What is distributed generation? Second is intrastate open access. Third is interstate open access, and fourth is the VPPA model, which is also, so two of the model are ISTS connected power plants, and one of them is STU and the other is behind the meter. So, and the problems are different in different areas, right? In the distributed generation model, obviously net metering in certain states has been an issue, but I mean, in certain other states it is possible. So we work with different states to sort of implement the net metering, implement the fact that below a certain limit, you can because otherwise they have if you are buying so much of from the, let's say, as a distributed generation, if you have so much, you cannot buy so much of open access. So there are some complicated rules in different states. So, but distributed generation still remains like an evergreen business, because there's a lot to be sort of done there on distributed generation. There's a lot because you don't take up external space. Now, as far as the intrastate open access is concerned, where the STU connected, let's say, so there the challenges, one is the first is the implementation of the green energy open access rules and adoption of the same by the regulator. In certain states, it has happened. Other states, it is happening with time. So there is a lot of advocacy that is needed, and also those regulations have to be complied with, right? So sometimes certain states do take some steps basically the discoms and all, which try to interfere with it. But then that is where we come in, and through our industry associations, we will go to regulatory commissions, and they have been fair. Okay. So all the rules that are defined have been finally upheld. Other challenge we face is that land acquisition. Obviously, land acquisition is a big issue because, but that's why we as a company created such a wide industrial footprint, because we can now acquire land in 22, 23 states. It's not easy, and that's something that we have to do. So that is something, it's tough, and that remains challenging. Then third is STU level, the transmission is still available. That's not too much of an issue. But when we come to the ISTS power plants, the biggest issue apart from the land acquisition is actually transmission, because for the CTU power plants, what is happening is that a lot of substations, because we have a goal for 2030, right? Now, some of the substations are not, transmission is unable to keep up pace with the generation. And as a result, what has happening, it is delayed the evacuation of certain power plants. And in case of certain other power plants, even when we are evacuating it, in certain parts of the country, the certain elements of the transmission system is not in place. As a result, for a small amount of time, they're back down. So, which is a national wastage of natural resources. So, transmission, the act has to be totally ramped up, because it is left to two or three players, private players, and the government, and that's not working, and they're unable to keep pace. So that has to be completely ramped up. But but in transmission, the government has done a very interesting thing. What they have done is that they've opened up sort of nighttime connectivity, and also essentially, let's say if you have a solar plant, you're not usually utilizing the transmission system in the night, right? So that is where basically you can also put battery and solar to use the transmission line in the night. So any power plants where we were not utilizing the transmission line throughout the day, now it's a very innovative idea to be able to use it throughout the day by putting additional renewable power and energy storage with it. So it's an innovative idea to address that problem, but transmission has to be really ramped up, and also it's not very fair, I would say. So if we deliver a power plant which is after a particular date, there are obviously damages, there are penalties and all. But if we have a power plant that is ready, and the transmission system is not yet in place, the compensation is not in line with the loss. And that is an issue. It has to be more balanced, actually. So that is, I would say, transmission. And then on the manufacturing side, and also especially commodities, and also obviously ALMM for cells and modules is there now. We have been a great proponent that for the CI sector, ideally, there should not be any ALMM. Because it is two private parties doing transactions, buying and selling power. So why would somebody mandate where to buy it from? While we have already entered into manufacturing ourselves. So my view is that for the larger sector, which is the utility sector, excuse me, so which is like 90% of the market, 80% of the market, there I would say, because the government is supporting that sector by designing bids and all, there we should focus on manufacturing in India and have ALMM and cells and modules, and that's already there. But for CNI sector, somehow I don't feel that it is really needed, that the ALMM for modules, and especially cells, because the moduling capacity is enough there. Cell capacity is coming up, and which is going to be ramped up drastically in the next couple of years. But still, I would say that I would like manufacturing to be globally competitive without these sort of benefits, because we should be able to export also, right? These cells and modules, and we cannot do so if we are not competitive. So I would say any kind of non-tariff barriers ideally should not be there in any sector, because what happens is at the end of the day, it increases the cost of electricity. But at the same time, if I am wearing the government hat, it is also important to create a manufacturing base in India, because we should be the largest manufacturing base in the world after China, right? And we are headed there. So it is a little bit of a compromise, but it is doable because see, even if we use equipment which is, let's say, made in India, still the renewable power is such that the it is still viable for the CNI customers, right? And obviously, the government has also reduced the GST, which is a very welcome move, and which we have been asking for a long time. So yeah, I mean, it's not easy to take this decision from the government side. We have to balance the power cost, then the generation sort of trajectory, and also ensure that we are creating a manufacturing base in India. The aim is also powering the renewable energy transition in India and powering the transition energy transition across the world by making in India. So that's why we're in manufacturing as well as in generation.
Right. Thank you. In fact, we were talking about ALMM for cells. The government may plan, there's a draft regulation for ALMM for wafers as well.
Yeah.
So,
So the trajectory they have given, like they have given it trajectory 2028. So see, I mean, ultimately, it's in the right direction, I would say, as long as it doesn't impact the target of 2030, 500 gigawatt. Because there's a lot to do even after 500 gigawatt. Like for net zero by 2070, you need to do much more than 500 gigawatt. So yeah.
also, Mr. Bhattacharya, I wanted to ask you, like, you talked about energy banking, and there are some limitations and restrictions on energy banking right now. And while some stakeholders are batting for more liberal banking regulations, some advocate for an alternative, which is putting up a storage component. So, what's your viewpoint on this, and which do you see as the more practical or sustainable option for CNI customers?
So for ISTS, there is no banking. But even if you're giving power to any ISTS customer, any CNI customer through a CTU power plant, there is no banking available, by the way. So there obviously you have to use storage. Okay. So, but for the STU business, banking is essential. Although, in most, like we recently executed two power projects, in one in the western state and another in the eastern state, where it will be solar plus storage. So all the states are mandating there is solar plus a small component of storage, but still banking is needed because you can never match the consumption and the sort of generation all the time. So you need the banking, and it is being paid for. It's not free. I mean, we pay for banking. So when we bank energy, there is money that we pay. There are drawal restrictions based on certain time of the day, depending on state to state, which is fine, so that the state doesn't lose anything, and they get paid for it. So banking for the STU business is essential.
Also, as discoms are rolling out green tariffs, there's another debate whether this will compete with or complement the CNI renewables market. So, what's your take on that? Is green tariffs a threat to CNI developers, or is it a way to better serve your customers?
See, I mean, say we are like coexisting with the discoms, and if discoms were giving all the green tariffs have not been competitive, first of all. Okay, most of the discoms we can give much more sort of attractive rates and for them. Second is in discom, there is no guarantee that the price will remain the same for the entire next 25 years. Here they're getting into a contract which is predictable over the next 25 years. But discount tariffs will change every year, right? So you do not know what is the tariff that is going to be 5 years from now. But we'll give them predictability of tariffs for the next 25 years. So I mean, we don't see too many adopters of discom green tariff, except for, let's say, in certain cases, suppose it is hydrogen production we are using so for the electricity for. So then obviously we will supply some of the power. Balance discom has to supply, right? It have to blend. See, all the customers mostly they are also connected to the discom. We are coexisting with the discom, right? So if there is a green requirement, that is the time when they can get the power from the discom also.
Khushbu, if you want to take the next set of questions.
Sure. Mr. Bhattacharya, there are a lot of young and enthusiastic and bright people who are entering this sector because they want to make a mark in the renewable space, in the environment space. and we have a lot of startups that are coming up. What is your advice to the young professionals who are entering the renewable space in India?
My first advice uh, is that obviously this is the best sector to be in, because for the next 50 years you need energy is essential. If there's no electricity, the internet will stop, everything will stop, right? So we are serving something fundamental need. So it's not a fashion or it's not a fad or something. Second is that we are also doing something sustainably with green energy, and also that also we don't have an alternative because we don't have oil and gas that is to feed there, and then it has to be complementing coal. So we are doing the thing in a very environmentally conscious manner. Third is that it is providing economic benefit to the end customer. So any business में fundamentals क्या चाहिए आपका? Size of the market is massive. Second is it's a need, it's not a want. Third is there is a very good benefit to the customer to buy the power. So, and fourth is it's good for the planet. So basically, it is very rare that you have a sector which has serving the people, the planet, as well as is also profitable. And so the idea is that one has to be patient, because if you have patience and resilience, then you can do well. If you keep on jumping jobs trying to increase the salary, it doesn't help, because I mean, it really doesn't help actually, because there's not a single sort of role I took up, or a job that I took up for the lure of money. uh, I mean, basics have to be covered, but at the same time, the larger goal should be there, that are you learning at a place where you are working in, or are you just sitting there and making money and just like, but there's a lot of peer pressure. Okay, you joined this and that, but you're basically doing nothing actually in those companies. And many of the companies actually have sort of names which are kind of very attractive. But when we ask like what we do at AMPIN in a year, perhaps in many of the peer group, they would not do it in like 3 years. So you have to work on learning all the skills that are needed to understand the business. So you have to understand the business as a machine, the sector as a this thing, full view होना चाहिए, and थोड़ा continuity होना चाहिए. So a lot of patience I see in certain people in terms of and they get nowhere. I have seen, like, in terms of they just like increase salaries and all, and then they're not used. They outbid themselves from the market. This is the best country to be in actually for the energy transition, because there's no other market which is bigger than this market, which is growing faster than this market, and which, because see, we have had exposure to all the global markets. This is one industry where you are at the right country at the right time. So it's not like software, like the entire like objective is to get a job here and start and go abroad, because this is the place where people want to be in. So you're fortunate to be an Indian and to be at the right place at the right time.
Mr. Bhattacharya, you have been a passionate advocate for renewable energy for the past 20 years or so, and we can see that AMPIN is doing really well in terms of different markets that you operate in, different states that you operate in. What drives you to keep working on this energy transition journey? What drives you and your company?
So first is that, I mean, I like the field as energy, because it's something that is just technically very interesting, because its energy is very fundamental to our existence, and different ways and means to harness energy at the best cost is very interesting in terms of that. Second is obviously what keeps me going is that it's actually you're doing something for the country, because for converting us into a Viksit Bharat, you will need energy, right? If you don't have energy, everything will stop. Now, to do that, actually, if we ourselves roll out, let's say 20 gigawatts by 2030, so essentially, we are also playing a role in the national sort of development, right? That is something which I feel very lucky to be doing. And third is that it's very interesting also in terms of different business models coming up, different businesses coming up. Even to me, the regulatory changes are interesting to me because it just keeps us on our toes. So it's a very happening industry, I would say, which is central to the growth of the nation
Right.
and also good for the planet. And that's why. And we are actually, it's like the biggest boom, I would say, that has happened. The tech boom is like old. This is much bigger than that, actually.
Right.
Actually, we've covered a lot about the sector. So let's end the podcast on a lighter note. So just a few short questions, and you can answer in a word or a line. So the first question is like one sector expert or entrepreneur that you are inspired by.
One sector expert entrepreneur I am inspired by. Uh, Actually, none.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting answer.
Yeah, because I don't do that aspect of idol worship or fan following because things have to come from our inside, actually, not from the outside.
Right.
It's not like lack of humility or something, but I feel that uh, that is maybe in different sectors it could be there, but in our sector actually there's no role model, I would say. As a person, if you see, the Prime Minister is a great inspiration in terms of the way he has started from grounds up, and also from a spiritual side. Actually, I mean, Swami Vivekananda has been a big inspirational model for me because it is the thoughts that he has put together in a very coherent manner, which actually are also one of the reasons it unfolds the our own Indian values in a very simple manner. So these are some of the people that I look up to. Yeah.
Right. So one management suggestion to build a successful company.
One is, I mean, I think so. You need to understand the people, actually. So we are in a people-oriented business, and in fact, I interview everybody who comes into the company. I want to know their entire background, their entire life, what this what this thing means, and we basically although we are a 9-year-old company, one of the leaders in this space, we still keep a very sort of startup kind of a vibe in terms of the open kind of a door policy. People don't have to seek a slot like 1 month in advance to meet me. So basically, because speed is very important in terms of creating a business. And for the speed, what are we as a business? It's a set of people. And if we do not understand the people, then we cannot connect the dots and move fast. So that is very important. The entire organizational structure and the people. These two are very important things in for a business to be created. And obviously, I am very hands-on, actually. So, because the idea is that one has to understand the grip of the company and how the interplay between the different departments work to create something, and they should also understand this. So, how, because it is not like everything is linked, right? Everything is linked. The projects are linked to finance, then the business development, financing, everything is linked together. So, if people understand the interdependencies and we are very plugged at the grounds up level, then basically our main policy is that, in fact, I said it in a statement also, it's basically head in the clouds, but feet on the ground. Want to capture it. That's the way that we work. Like this entire business model that we have created is unique. The financial strategy is unique. The organizational strategy is unique. And also the business strategy of the 7 businesses, how they're intertwined is unique. It requires a lot of thought and sort of so, but at the same time, we don't lose sight of the like what do we do today now. So grounded behind look.
So my next question is, are you in the 5 a.m. CEO club?
I've heard of I don't read these books and all because they're just sort of that's also something. It depends on person to person. So I am actually somebody who actually starts a bit late and I work till late, but not. But obviously, I also take care of my health and also in the morning. So, but at the same time, because it's important to have fitness and sort of respect for your health is very important when you're running a business, and in sense that is very important for everybody. But again, I do not like to follow somebody because somebody has written something. Where I question it. Like somebody has written a 5 a.m. club because he's made a lot of money by selling that book. Why should I believe him? Right?
Makes sense.
Because if you go to the Indian philosophy, it is a 4 a.m. club because Brahma Muhurat आपको 4 बजे होता है सुबह. So
Right.
if you go to the actual thing, 4 a.m. को उठ के बेसिकली आपको मेडिटेशन करना चाहिए.
Right.
ठीक है, उसके बाद जाके आपको मतलब यू शुड गो आउट एंड डू एक्सरसाइज एंड ऑल राइट.
Right.
एंड सो I mean, I think so somehow a lot of our Indian values are basically we also they put it in a different like a package and sell it to ourselves, and then we suddenly talk to each other, and then these questions come up.
So my next question is one greenwashing trend in the industry that you are not happy about.
I mean, one is the green energy tariffs are actually not really something that is really green because it is not promoting any development of green energy. It's like the discoms trying to sort of save themselves and all because that is there. And then, I mean, at least at our company, we have tried to ensure that none of our stakeholders that we take on board are also accused of greenwashing and all. Yeah.
And last question from my side, one consumer base that you think has the highest potential for decarbonization in the coming years.
I would say data centers, because the point is that data centers growth as well as the renewable energy growth have been hand to hand. So since they are also new companies, they are also new in this field. So they have been really immediate adopters of renewables because from the scratch. So for example, we have worked across the board for Airtel's data centers, almost 200 megawatts across different states. Now, I mean, people like that, we can plan that the new facility is coming up and then we'll give you green power. So that is one because data growth is unstoppable, and obviously you need data centers. For the data centers, you will need green energy. So that is one sector which is, I would say, a big one. And obviously, the other one is cement and steel. Steel is like heavy industry in general. They have huge energy consumption. And as a development country, you need developing country, you need cement and steel to build the country, right? And uske liye you need a lot of green power. So those are the two things. Other
All right.
sectors, I think, so have green requirements, but the consumption is lesser.
Right.
All right. Okay, with this, we end the episode with Pinaki Bhattacharya. Thank you so much, Pinaki, for your time and for your insightful inputs on our questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Renewable Watch, and both of you for very interesting questions, actually. So hope this was useful to you as well, to the audience of this podcast. And thank you.